My name is Marlene Schimpf. I work as a consultant at Make It in Germany, and I will be holding this webinar today. I'm delighted that you are all here and hope that you can benefit from some valuable tips today. But before we get started, my colleague Katharina Pafil will now give you a few brief technical tips.
Thank you for the introduction, Marlene, and welcome to our webinar. I hope you can all hear us. You can give me a feedback maybe in the chat if you can hear and see the presentation. If you have sound problems, please make sure you have selected computer audio in the GoToWebinar user panel. If you have still some problems, it helps if you switch it off and turn it on again. You can type your question during the webinar here in the chat. You can see the screenshot. Don't be irritated. Only we, the moderators, can see your question. I will collect all the questions in the background, and at the end of the presentation, I will read them out loud to Marlene. And yes, today's presentation can you also download under handouts in the GoToWebinar user panel. So I think that's all for the technical advice. But before we start with the presentation, we want to get to know you better. First question, what is your biggest challenge when looking for a job? First, you don't know where to find jobs, you don't know how to write an application for a German employer, or you don't know if you are if the quality of your application is good enough. So I see, oh, you're answering really, really fast. That's good. Nearly 30% have answered. Okay. That looks interesting so far. But wait a couple more of seconds. I think maybe we can hit the 80%. We have 70%. Nearly. Okay. Now I will show you the results. Here you can see, so you see the most struggle is here. You don't know if the quality of your application is good enough, and you are still also not sure on where to find jobs. So there are many, many questions I think you will have. So good that you participate in today's webinar. Next question. Have you ever sent an application to a German employer? Yes, not yet, no, and I have no idea how to do it. You are again really, really fast. Okay, I think now we maybe get the 80%. So, yes. So, yeah, thank you for your participation. Most of you answered with yes, 44%, and 32 have no idea on how to do it, and 25% are still not sure. And the last question, especially for those who answered the first question with yes, have you received a reply to your application to a German employer? Yes, I have received a rejection. I was invited to an interview. I did not receive an answer at all. So we'll see. Okay. Okay. This looks also interesting. I think this webinar is really the right choice for you today. Okay, I will show you the results. So 44% have received an answer, and it was unfortunately a rejection, and 43% didn't receive any answer at all. Yes, Marlene, I think you can work with these results. So you can start with your presentation and give the answers to all the questions.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you very much for your participation. We are more than 400 people right now, so I think the topic is quite interesting for many skilled workers abroad. And yeah, I hope I can help you a bit today with this presentation. Yeah, this is today's agenda. Firstly, I will briefly introduce you to our portal Make It in Germany before giving you detailed tips on job search and the application process in Germany. And at the end, we will have about 20 minutes for your questions. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so what is Make It in Germany? Make It in Germany is the official portal of the German federal government for skilled workers from abroad. It provides valid and legally compliant information for international skilled workers and for German employers. Make It in Germany has been running for almost 12 years, and the website is available in 4 languages, in German, English, French, and Spanish. But there are also overviews in 19 other languages that provide a shorter version of the information. And since 2012, around 74 million people worldwide have visited Make It in Germany. Okay, so what does Make It in Germany offer? Make It in Germany provides all the information you need to know about working and living in Germany. On our website, there's a quick check that you can use to find out in just a few clicks what your chances are of migrating to Germany. And there are also graphics, checklists, and explanatory videos on visa processes. We have lists and a world map with advice centers and important institutions. And we have a job listings board, but I will come back to it in more detail later. Yeah, we are on YouTube, X, and now also on LinkedIn, where you are very welcome to follow us. And we regularly offer webinars and have a calendar of events on the website, where you can find events from us, but also from our partner organizations. And you are also welcome to subscribe to our newsletter, where we regularly report on all innovations on the portal. And for individual questions, you can contact our experts by hotline or by email. Yeah, next slide, please. And in addition to the topics that I've already mentioned right now, Make It in Germany also offers information on learning German, facts about life in Germany, and also on the recognition of foreign professional qualifications. Okay. So now we are really getting into the topic of job searching. Yeah, I will divide now the various phases of the job search and application process into 5 different steps. And I will now start, of course, with the first step, prepare yourself. Yeah, to prepare for the job search, you should start gaining work experience as early as possible. So if you are still studying, for example, internships and working student jobs are a good option. This allows you to build up a network directly. Another point is good German language skills. They are not a prerequisite for every company in Germany, but in jobs where you work a lot with people, such as in the healthcare sector, it is even a requirement. And otherwise, you will anyways always impress employers with your good knowledge of German. Yeah, furthermore, you should prepare all the necessary documents for the job search and possibly also for a visa. And Make It in Germany will provide you with all the information you need. And if you prepare to start your job search from Germany, you also have the option of applying for a job search visa. The visa is currently issued for 6 months, but from June 2024, the so-called opportunity card will be introduced, which you will initially receive for 1 year. You will also find all the information you need to know on our website, and from May onwards, a self-check tool to see whether you are eligible for the opportunity card. And we will be holding a webinar concerning the opportunity card in June. Yeah, and there are also a lot of support services available for finding a job and living in Germany. So it's very helpful to make use of them, what you're doing today as well. And you can find many offers on our world map or in our events calendar. Next slide. Okay, so now we are already at step 2, the job search. And here are a few channels that are suitable for job searching. So there are virtual job fairs. You can find some of them in our event calendar, and they are a very good opportunity for getting in direct contact with employers and leaving a positive, lasting impression. And then, of course, we have online websites. You all know the Make It in Germany website now. And then there's the website of the German Federal Employment Agency. This is connected with the German State Service. So there you can fill in a contact form with your degree, your professional experience, and your German language skills. And then consultants will get back to you by email. And if you have good qualifications, you can be included in a pool of candidates, which you see below. Another website is EURAccess, but this is especially for international researchers. And then there's EURES. This is an EU database for jobs in the European Union. Yeah, of course, you all know social media. So many jobs are on LinkedIn, where you can apply directly. Then there are companies' websites. So if you are already interested in a particular company in your sector, you can also regularly check their website, where all vacancies are usually published. And then there are many private job search engines in Germany. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to give you any example for competition reasons, but if you search for them, you will quickly find some. Yeah, another possibility is the application on your own initiative. So this is an application to a company without a corresponding vacancy. They are sometimes a very effective way of getting a job. This is because the company might be thinking about advertising a vacancy soon, and then they already have your application without any competitors. Or your application is so convincing that the company creates a new position just for you. But it is important when you write an application on your own initiative that you give really good reasons why you are interested in this particular company and why you are the right person for the company and your skills fit to them. Yeah, another possibility are recruitment agencies. So many skilled workers from abroad use private recruitment agencies to find a job in Germany and receive support with the immigration process. However, not every private recruitment agency is trustworthy. That's why you need to know why you have to be very careful when choosing an agency. And a little teaser on Make It in Germany, there will soon be a section on recruitment agencies and what you should be aware of. Yeah, and I've already mentioned the German State Placement Agency called ZAV, that is part of the Federal Employment Agency, and you can also take advantage of the services offered by them. They are all free of charge and follow ethical standards. And in addition to individual counseling, there are also a number of ZAV recruitment projects in different sectors and with different countries of origin that might be of interest to you. And yeah, on the right side, you can see we also have an explainer video for job search on our website, so feel free to check it out. Yeah, and here are links to all the helpful job search websites I mentioned, which you can then click on directly after you downloaded the presentation. So you can download the presentation in the tool, and then you can just afterwards click on all the links here. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, now I would like to introduce you to the Make It in Germany job listings in more detail, in case you are not yet familiar with it. On the Make It in Germany job listings, German employers that are open to international skilled workers publish their job adverts. There are jobs in various sectors, for example, in the healthcare sector, in the construction industry, or in IT. And you can search and filter by industry, but also by keyword. And if you're interested in a particular sector, you can subscribe to our free job newsletter, which will then notify you regularly by email when new jobs are published in the sector. And all jobs listed on our job listings entitle you to get a work visa. Can we go back? Sorry, yeah. Entitle you to get a work visa. So according to a study, 4 out of 10 international specialists who visited Make It in Germany found a job via our job listings. So you should definitely have a look on them. Now we can continue. Okay, so now we come to the actual process of applying in Germany. So if you have seen a job that interests you, first try to find out more about the company and the job itself. Because the more details you know about the company and the job, the more precise and personalized you can write your application. Your actual application should then contain a motivation letter, your CV, and annexes. In the annexes, you should include your diplomas, and if you have work references and other certificates, such as language tests or further training, for example, IT courses. And of course, your other certificates should be relevant to the position. So you should not just put there everything you have, but it should be relevant to the position. And the last step is the job interview. I will come to it later. And now we will start with the German CV. Okay, yeah, now I can see it. So how does a German CV looks like? First of all, I want to say that there is no perfect version to write a typical German CV. Our example is just a general idea how to structure it. Of course, you can vary the layout, but please keep in mind that recruiters usually take only a few minutes to check the motivation letter and the CV. So please make sure that your CV is easy to look through so that it shows your skills and experiences at first glance. Normally, a CV should not be longer than 2 pages unless you already have like 30 years of professional experience. You can emphasize positions and work experience that are relevant to the new job. And as a tip, I would recommend the Europass CV. You can create one for free on the Europass website by filling in your experience and choosing a design template. The Europass CV is accepted and valued as the standard in all European countries. So with the Europass CV, you are always on the right side. But if you want to create your own, you can of course do it, but it should be very well structured. And now we are coming to have a deeper look into the classic structure of a CV. So the first section lists your personal information. This includes your first and your last name, your address, and your contact information like telephone number and email address, the place and date of birth, your marriage status, and if you maybe have children, and your nationality. Please make sure that you use a serious email address. So honey55@hotmail.com is really not recommended and might be even filtered into the spam folder of the recruiters. The marriage status is optional, but it helps to show the full picture of you. And if you want to migrate with your family, then it's important to state it. Sending a photo is common in most German industries. However, there are also companies that do not consider this mandatory or even do not want a photo to be avoided and because they want to avoid being influenced by it. But if no photo is requested, this is usually explicitly stated in the job advert. If you do send a photo, please make sure it is a professional one. A selfie or a poor lighting will make a bad impression. Yeah, and the last section you can see here is the work experience. Here you list all work experience you have ever had, including internships, but jobs should be listed in reverse chronological order. So your last work experience is on the top. Include the name of your employing company, the location, your position, and the dates you worked for them, and follow that with bullet points to show 3 to 5 of your most important tasks. If you worked in several jobs for the same company, write it that way. And if you served military service or took care, for example, of your grandma for a while, you should state this info as well, because gaps, if they are like 3 or 4 months between various career steps, like you changed from school to university, or after university you searched for a job, they do not have to be explained, and they are very normal. But longer gaps, like for example a year or 2 years, they should always be explained. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, another part of the CV is the educational background. Here you list your study or vocational training. Schools are only of interest if they have something to do with the occupation you have applied for. And in this CV, the applicant has visited a university, so it starts with the dates of attendance and the name of the university, and then the name of the program and the achieved degree. And if you, for example, wrote a master thesis about a topic that is relevant to the job you apply for, you can also mention your master thesis. Another point is the social engagement. So this point is only of interest if it shows some soft skills that are required for the job. So for example, you are doing sports and you played in a team for a long time, and you, with this, for example, you could prove your teamwork skills. So you can write this in the social engagement part, or hobbies. Then other skills are listed at the end of the CV. So language skills are usually listed, and then with the corresponding level. So for example, native language, advanced knowledge, or basic knowledge, or according to the framework of references for languages. So C1, B2, A2. In addition, digital skills are usually listed as well with the appropriate levels. So for example, Microsoft Office, very good, Java, good, but only list skills in which you can indicate at least a good. And at the end, you can integrate an area with additional information. So if you have a driving license, for example, you can indicate this here. Or if you have attended other certificates or training courses, for example, in project management, so you have a Scrum Master certificate, or you have published papers in a journal, you can also mention this here. In the last area, you are very free in the things you mention, but they should always be relevant for the job position. Yeah, and the CV ends with your signature. Next slide. Yeah, here you will find a checklist that you should tick off at the end of your CV creation process. And in addition to correctness of content, attention should also be paid to formal correctness. Next slide, please. Okay, now we are, now I can see the slide. Now we are going on with the motivation or cover letter. So this is usually the first page of your application, and then it is followed by your CV. In the cover letter, you should explain on one page why you want this particular job and why you are the right person for the job. When writing your cover letter, you should make sure that you don't just write things that are already clear from your CV. It is much more important to pick up on the skills required in the job advert and prove that you have them. The best way to demonstrate your skills is with examples from your personal and professional experience. As you can see, a cover letter must be very individual and refer to the job advert and the company. So copy-paste cover letters are therefore not very promising. You always can maintain the structure of your cover letter, but you should personalize the content, even if it takes some work. Yeah, and now let's move on to the structure of a cover letter. You have to bear in mind that many recruiters, we are not changing yet, sorry. Yeah, you have to bear in mind that many recruiters only skim the cover letter, so you should write it short and with concise sentences. And it may also be worth highlighting some skills in bold to emphasize them. In the header, you should first enter your address and then the address of the company. And in the same way as with a formal letter, the current place and date must be stated. This is followed by a small heading, which should also be highlighted in bold and should state the reason for the cover letter. So, for example, application as an engineer at Maya Company. If the job advert includes a job ID number, please include this in the heading as well, because usually companies have more than one vacancy published, and sometimes companies also use artificial intelligence to filter applications according to the job ID. And then the actual letter begins. So if a contact person is named in the job advert, address them personally in the cover letter. So for example, dear Miss Meyer. If no direct contact person is named, choose a neutral form of address. So like dear sir or madam. And I've already gone into some detail about the content. In addition to your motivation and skills, you can also mention where you saw the job advertisement or whether you know whether you were recommended by your network, for example. And at the end of the cover letter, you should emphasize that you hope to be invited for a personal interview. Finalize your cover letter with kind regards and your full name and your signature. Yeah, and now we can go to the checklist. Yeah, so you can tick off this checklist at the end of your cover letter creation process as well. And corresponding to the CV and in addition to correctness of content, attention should also be paid to formal correctness. And it is the best to use the same font and similar design for your CV and for your cover letter, so that it's just a nice package. Yeah, now we continue with the German application photo. Yeah, if you submit an application photo, please choose a colored one or a black and white photo. You should wear a business look, and it's important to have a sharp contrast between your face and the background. Avoid light disturbances or reflections, and instead of a full screen view, choose to pose gently sidewards, like the woman in the picture there. And last but not least, try to smile, because with a smile you have a much more friendly appearance, and yeah, it's not a picture for a passport, but to convince your former employer. And yeah, okay, we continue. Yeah, if your application is successful, you will be invited to a job interview. And in some companies, depending on the position, an assessment center is also carried out. However, the job interview is also part of an assessment center, and I will explain it now in more detail. Next slide. Yeah, a job interview is usually attended by an HR manager and your line manager, but sometimes also by other colleagues or, for example, a person from the Works Council. Nowadays, interviews usually take place online, especially if you still live abroad. Therefore, make sure you prepare your technical equipment well and test it beforehand. A quiet environment and good lighting are also important, and use a background filter for your camera if your background is too chaotic. You should also wear appropriate clothing for an online interview. Depending on the company, however, the style of dress will gradually become more and more relaxed. So it doesn't have to be a full suit or blazer, but a normal blouse is sufficient. One topic you should definitely prepare is salary. So many companies will ask you for your salary expectations. In order to give a realistic salary expectation, you should find out in advance about salaries in your sector and with your level of experience. Then state a slightly higher salary than you would like to achieve in the end, as a salary will be negotiated. And however, if your salary expectations are far too high and unrealistic, you will not get the job. So please be aware of that, and that's why sensitivity is required. In many jobs, you will already be given a salary. So if the company is bound by a collective agreement, you will be employed according to this agreement. And however, you can sometimes negotiate your experience level and get a better salary at experience level 2 than at experience level 1. Collective agreements can have many advantages. So your salary is usually negotiated by a large trade union, which can exert a lot of pressure on employers and result in regular salary increases. And if your salary is linked to experience levels, it will also increase automatically the longer you have been with the company. In a job interview, both personal and professional and company-related questions are usually asked. And to be able to answer these, it is worth familiarizing yourself with the company. So read the company website carefully and look out for special features you may be asked about them. And personal questions are mostly about your skills and motivation. So it's a bit comparable like in your cover letter. And the interview usually starts with you having to introduce yourself in 3 to 5 minutes. You can practice this at home. Then you briefly state your name, your age, and your most recent professional experience or university degree. And afterwards, you can list a few of your competences and back them up with examples. And then you emphasize that these are a very good fit for the job and that this motivates you. And at the end of your introduction, thank them for inviting you to the interview and say that you are really looking forward to the exchange. Yeah, next slide. Here I have listed other typical personal questions for the job interview, and you can often find good inspiration for answers to standard questions on career sites on the internet. However, always try to remain authentic in your answers. If you try to come across as too perfect, this could be also used against you, because companies often also look whether you as a person would fit into the team. Topics like criticism should not be taken too personally in German working culture, but should be accepted and also used for self-reflection. Communication in Germany, as you might know, is often very direct, and this is why you will sometimes be asked questions about how to deal with conflicts or criticism, or how you work under pressure. And the interview usually ends with you being asked if you have any further questions for the company. And you should definitely say yes and prepare at least 2 to 3 questions for this. Otherwise, it will come across as a lack of interest. And an interview is there for both sides, so also for you to get to know the company better. For example, you can ask about relocation or integration services or about further training opportunities within the company. And if you don't know the answer to a question directly, it's totally okay to tell the interviewer that you would like to think about it briefly rather than just talking nonsense. Okay. Now we have another checklist for the job interview. So once again, you should tick off at the end of your preparation process for the interview. Unfortunately, I can't go into more detail about the assessment center now, but yeah, I think you find a lot of information online. And if you have stated in your CV that you have German language skills, even if it's just A1, A2, please be prepared to speak German because yeah, they might want to test it. Okay, now we step to the last step. Yeah. Okay, I think now it's here. Signing the contract. So if you are convincing in the interview, the recruiter or manager will get back to you and send you an acceptance letter. And from then on, you can negotiate the conditions in more detail, for example, the salary or the details of the contract. And you can also ask for 1 or 2 days to think about if you are still unsure whether you want to accept this job or not. So maybe you have yeah, a few acceptances from different jobs and you want to decide, or you have another interview and you want to wait a bit and how this interview will be. So yeah, it's normal to tell recruiters, yeah, please give me some time to think about. I'm very honored that you accepted me. Yeah, but it shouldn't be too long. So I think 2 days is okay, but otherwise it might, yeah, look like a bit that you are not interested. Yeah, and here you can see there are different types of employment contracts. So with an open-ended employment contract, you have no foreseeable leaving date. However, an open-ended contract does not always protect you against dismissal. So your employer can, for example, terminate your contract for operational reasons if the company is, for example, in a bad economic situation. With a fixed-term employment contract, a leaving date is fixed from the outset, and this may be linked to project funding, for example, but your employment relationship yeah, can be continued if there are new opportunities that arise in the company. But you should bear in mind that you must have a contract of at least 6 months in order to obtain an EU blue card. Yeah, if you have found your job with the help of a private recruitment agency, you must sign a contract with your recruitment agency in addition to the contract with the company. And as I already said, a little teaser, you will soon find more information on the subject of placement on our website. And for the sake of form, I will also mention a mini-job contract, but you cannot obtain a visa with this. So a mini-job in Germany is a job which you work approximately 8 hours per week, and you are not allowed to earn more than 538 euro per month, and you are not included in the German social security system. But if you want, you could do a mini-job as a side job. Yeah, and finally, as a self-employed person, you can also obtain freelance contracts. Here, a company uses the services of a self-employed independent expert, usually for a specific task or a specific project, and for a limited period of time. Yeah, and now we are finishing this topic. Next slide, please. Yeah, here you can see a list of all the aspects that must be included in your employment contract. So I've already mentioned the time limit. Then there's the probationary period that may last a maximum of 6 months. And during this period, both employers and employees can terminate the employment relationship with a notice period of 2 weeks. In addition to a job description, your salary and other benefits you have agreed on must also be included. So benefits can include holiday pay, meal coupons, job tickets, company cars, gym memberships, or home office options. And with regard to salary, the annual gross salary is always stated in the employment contract. So this is not the money you will have in your account at the end of the year, as you might already know, because taxes and social security contributions are deducted from the gross salary. You can find a gross net calculator on the internet that will calculate how much you will earn. And you can also find more information about salary and taxes on our website. Yeah, if you work full-time in Germany, that means between 35 and 40 hours a week, depending on the company and industry. Some companies have trust-based working hours, while in others, the hours have to be documented. And the statutory holiday entitlement for a 5-day week is at least 20 days per year. However, most companies grant more holidays, for example, 30 per year. And in addition to this holidays, there are also public holidays, such as Christmas, Easter, or German Unity Day that come on top. Yeah, and the notice period must also be specified in the working contract. And I have already said something about collective agreements. So yeah, I will come to a little result now. Okay, it's still loading now. It's there. Yeah, to sum up, I would like to emphasize the following points once again. I would like to realistically mention that the application process is not always easy and can take a longer time. So companies don't always reply directly. We've seen this at the beginning where you replied our questions, and sometimes you don't get a reply to an application at all. If you don't get a response, you could try asking for feedback in a friendly way about why you weren't selected and what you could improve in the future. So some companies respond to this, but of course not all. Yeah, because of the obstacles, you often have to write a lot of applications, but you should still make sure that you don't send out copy-paste applications, as this is usually not very fruitful. And I have already mentioned and linked to the job search support services in my presentation. They are all free of charge and can be really helpful, and it is therefore worth making use of them. Before you have already invested a lot of time and energy without success. And it's also always good to try out different ways of looking for a job. So take part in virtual job fairs, write to companies on LinkedIn, send an application on your own initiative to your favorite company, but also use the classic application route via job advertisement and job boards or websites. And finally, be proactive, but also accurate. We often find that international skilled workers simply write an email stating that they are electricians and would like to work in Germany. And you have to keep in mind that a company is always busy and will not take the time to reply to this unspecific email. So if you write an email, it has to be specific, and always make sure that you have already done some research on the company and have individual and specific questions, or you can ideally send your CV directly with it. Yeah, and last but not least, I have a little teaser for you, which is coming here. So on the 5th of June, we will be holding a webinar on the topic of how do I receive a work visa for Germany, and you are cordially invited to attend, because once you have found a job, you will of course need to apply for a visa. Yeah, and now we have reached the end of the presentation, and I'm handing over to Katharina to moderate the Q&A session.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. We have received a lot of positive feedback. Thank you for sharing all the tips with us. So I think we are starting right away, and maybe you can already imagine the main topic in the Q&A section is, what about the language skills? Is it okay to write a German CV or an even German CV? Is it okay to write it in English? Maybe you can clarify that for us.
Yeah, concerning the CV, maybe check whether the job advertisement is in English or in German. So this already gives you a little hint. So if the job advertisement is in English, you can definitely apply in English, or you should even maybe should even apply in English. If the job advertisement is in German, you should yeah, check out the recommended skills, and if they say fluent in German, maybe you should apply in German. But yeah, if you apply in a perfect German, for example, you use DeepL Translator or something, but at the end you cannot even talk in German at all, this doesn't make sense. So it's also good to be honest about your language skills and not try to write a perfect German application and at the end you cannot talk, because this will definitely, yeah, be obvious, at least in the job interview, I think. So yeah, if you cannot speak German, then maybe it's better to write in English. If you speak a little bit of German, you can also state this in your CV, so you can write it in German and then write like, I'm still improving my language skills, or I'm very motivated to improve my German language skills. So yeah, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's always a bit individual. Yeah, but as a tip, I would recommend to check out if the job advertisement is in English or in German.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And another question we received a lot in the chat is if international work experiences are also appreciated by a German company, or though do only German work experience count?
Okay, yeah. I would say international work experience is very welcome, because we are living in a globalized world, and many companies are also international companies and have worldwide markets. So I think it's really valuable, and you should definitely emphasize your experiences there. So of course, if you have never been to Germany, you cannot have any German experiences, but yeah, work experiences in other countries is valuable as well. So don't be shy to mention this.
Yes, it's, as you said, really welcoming also to say. Another question is about the German the job listings on the Make It in Germany website. Does it mean the job listed on Make It in Germany means the companies are opened also for outside application?
Open for what?
Outside application, so
Yes.
from abroad.
Yeah, so actually this means they are open for applications from other countries. Of course, we cannot clarify for every employer who is there, because sometimes they might make a cross that they are open, but they didn't realize they make this cross, and then they are automatically in our job listings. But usually all the jobs that are listed there, the employers are welcoming international workers.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And I think there is still a bit of confusion about the photo topic, and there were some wishes to, if you can repeat this topic, is it mandatory or not?
Yeah, so it's I think it's a bit changing. So you cannot be forced to send a photograph, but still it's common. So I think in most cases people send a photograph to big companies, but yeah, it's not. They cannot force you to do it, because sometimes maybe it's your personal choice. You don't want to do it, or so it's actually recommended, but in a small, in some cases, companies say that we don't want a picture, I think, or a photograph. I think that these are not many companies, but there are some companies, but then it's explicitly stated in the job advertisement, because some companies say we don't want a photograph because we don't want to be influenced by this photograph. But this is not common. I would say in 95% of our cases, photograph is very welcomed by the company, but then it has to be a professional one. So if you don't have a professional photograph, then it's better to don't send any picture than to send a selfie or a bad WhatsApp picture. So if you don't have a professional photograph, then please send it without a photograph. This is better than any photograph of not a good quality.
Okay, thank you. Can you maybe explain if the motivation letter is the same as the cover letter?
Yeah, a motivation letter and a cover letter, there are two names, but they are actually the same.
Okay, thanks. One person said the information on the CV seems to be very personal. What is mandatory? Also, another asked if hobbies should be included. So maybe you can tell us something about this?
Okay, yeah, so mandatory from your personal information is, of course, your name, your address and your contact information are important because otherwise they cannot reach you, reach out to you. And yeah, I would also recommend to write your nationality because if you need a visa, it's better that they know it beforehand. And as I said, the marriage status, or if you have children, it's not mandatory, but for example, if you want to bring your family to Germany, it's just it helps to make a full picture of you, but it's not mandatory. So mandatory is your name, your age, your address, and your email address, your phone number, for example, and the other aspects are, you can choose if you want to state them or not. And for the hobbies, as I said, you can write them down if you think that they fit to the position or that you acquired some soft skills from your hobbies that are maybe mentioned in the job advert. So if there's a job advert and there's written like, we expect strong team working skills or some empathy towards other people, something like that, and you have a hobby that states this, you can write it down. Or if you, for example, social engagement, you work with refugees or you work with older people in your free time, this is always a good example because that shows some soft skills. But just like reading or cooking, I don't know, this doesn't have to be stated, I think.
Thank you for the examples. Next question. If I have 1 year career gap and the reason is very personal, is it really necessary to be explained?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, nobody can force you to explain it, and then you just have this 1 year career gap. So then you should be prepared if you are invited to an interview that they will ask you about it. So they will ask, what did you do during this year? And of course, you can say in the interview there, that's a really personal thing, so I don't want to talk about it, and nobody can force you. But yeah, actually, if you have a year gap, it's good to explain. And some people, for example, write some self-orientation. People do this in Germany, for example, if they are going traveling or learned a new language, then you can write something like self-orientation. And I did different projects, for example. But if it's really personal, you don't have to write it down, but it could be possible that you will be asked about it in the interview.
Okay, thanks. The next question is regarding the cover letter. Do we have to specify the address of the company in our cover letter when we are sending the cover letter via email?
Yeah, it's true. Actually, this doesn't make really sense, but I'm still doing it. I don't know, because it has the structure of a formal letter, and usually this is part of a normal letter. I don't know if you don't do it. I think people might not care, but actually it's the formal structure. So I'm always doing it, and I think the Federal Employment Agency is also advising for it. But yeah, it's also still a personal choice. If you have written a lot and there's no space, maybe you can just leave it.
Okay, thanks. We also received a question. I cannot find it in the chat anymore, but I remember, and I think it was interesting. Because if you're writing the job application, the cover letter, is it necessary to attach it to the mail, or you should write it directly in the email?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's the best to attach it to the mail. So it's not good to write it in the email because normally recruiters will not read such a long email, I think. And normally many companies write you should do one PDF document where you, put in every document you have. So then the first page is the cover letter, then you have your CV, and then you have all your annexes, so your diploma, your degrees, and you have one PDF document where everything is included. So this is actually the most simplest way. Because also when you write an email and you have like 6 or 7 attachments, like recruiters might be a bit disturbed because then they have to open, this is the certificate, this is the CV, this is the motivation letter. So I would recommend the best is to have one PDF document and everything is in well order.
Okay, perfect. Next question is, I'm looking, where did I found it? It was the question regarding if you're still in the process in graduating. Is it okay to apply already for jobs, or are work experiences needed before applying?
Yeah, of course, it's normal to apply for a job when you are still studying and, for example, writing your master thesis. So then you can write it in your cover letter. Right now, I'm still writing my master thesis or my bachelor thesis, I will finish my bachelor maybe in 2 months. And this, so you should be like you should make it transparent that you are still studying and that you will finish, for example, in 2 months. And then you can write in the email as well. So I will, if I have my degree, I will submit it later, but it's normal to already apply for a job while you are still studying so that the gap in between might not be too long. But then you should make sure to make clear in your application that you are really in the last steps of your studies and that you're just writing your thesis, because otherwise if the recruiters think like, okay, this person still needs 2 years, that doesn't make sense. So you should make sure that it's clear, that you're nearly at the end of your studies and that you are really motivated and looking forward to start your career now.
Thank you. Another question on work experiences. What are the chances to get a job not in the profession one has graduated, rather than in the one that you have worked in the last 10 years?
Yeah, I think the chances are high. It's normal that you don't always work in the job that you have your degree. And normally in Germany, it's also very open. So they always write in the job advert a degree, maybe in natural sciences or other related subjects. So there's always these other related subjects. So this is like a really broad topic, broad definition. So it's normal that you don't always work in the subject you have explicitly studied, but that you are finding your way after a few years. So I think the work experience after 10 years is even more important than what you did in your studies, because your studies are still like 10 years ago. And I think work experience is more important than your studies 10 years ago.
Okay, thank you. Are there any age limitations when applying for a job in Germany?
Yeah, actually no, but there's this restriction when you are older than 45, you have to earn a certain amount of money to get a visa. This is the only restriction, but normally employers, they don't have any age restriction, because this would be like discrimination of age and it's not even allowed by law.
Okay, thank you. We are coming, unfortunately, to an end to our webinar, and there are still a lot of questions. I know this topic is quite complicated, and unfortunately, we don't have the time to answer all. But Marlene, we're receiving also, of course, a bit of negative feedback because many people are still applying and they didn't get a positive answer. Maybe you have time to give a little pep talk for our community here.
Yeah. So what kind of talk? Like,
Maybe some positive feedback, like it takes
okay.
time.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So yeah, it's normal that it takes time because yeah, as I already said on my last slide as well, recruiters are busy. Sometimes people are sick in the company, then they don't answer for a long time. Yeah, so it's normal that it takes a bit of time, and I know it can be frustrating, but yeah, please don't be too frustrated. Try your best, and yeah, then I would really recommend to use this existing support services. So you can write the Federal Employment Agency. There was this email address. Yeah, make it in Germany at arbeitsagentur.de, and they even help you. They check your CV, they check your application, your motivation letter, and help you to improve. And yeah, then I guess you're well prepared, and it's always like it takes some time, but after a while you will have a fit, and yeah, I wish you all the best for the process.
Okay, thank you for this statement. And I think I have to close now the Q&A session. Thank you for your participation. Thank you, Marlene, for being here and answering all the important questions and for the well-organized information. Yes, this was it for today. And we are seeing us in our next webinar in June on the work visa. Marlene already showed the program. So we wish you all the best and a successful application time. And yes, thank you for being here. Bye.
Bye.